Once again, welcome to the Roland Grimes Not Just Sports and Entertainment Show. I'm your host, Roland Bubba Grimes, and as always, do me a favor, put your hands together as I welcome back my co-host, Mr. Self-Empowerment, Wilbert Skipper. Skip, I must say you're looking as debonair as usual. I just took off another 10 pounds, so I'm going to be in your closet when you get home tonight. I'll trying on your suits. Mike, that was a joke. This gentleman to my right, I'm going to start here. His name is Coach Mike Smith, and just tell you a little bit about him. He and I first met when I was playing football here at Bishop McNamara High School. Incidentally, it's homecoming. It's homecoming all over the land. And we're at Bishop McNamara High School in Forestville, Maryland, as you can see from their ensemble. And we're enjoying the homecoming festivities as part of the Roland Grimes Show this week. Coach Mike Smith and I affectionately met several years ago when I was playing football here at Bishop McNamara as a student. He also attended Bishop McNamara as a student and continued on. He's going to tell you a lot more about his story as we go. This next gentleman sitting to my far right, Skip's left, his name is Tim. Tim, how do I pronounce your name again?
Corrad.
Corrad. See, he told me 47 times, but as you know, I took a lot of hits when I was playing ball. Corrad. And Tim is in the class of 1990, I believe. Correct. Still looking good for Bishop McNamara High School. He's going to fill you in on where he's been. Folks, do me a favor if you would, put your hands together for my guests, Mike and Tim. Now actually, Tim, I knew what your last name was. I'm just going to see if you can pronounce it right. Anyway, folks, you may hear a little hum in the background. We have some coolers. We're going to turn them off during the commercial break. But in the meantime, I hope that you can hear me just fine. And we're going to start right now by talking a little bit to Tim and find out where he's been and what he's been doing. Tim, you went to Bishop McNamara. Was it still all boys at the time?
It was. It was the last year before they transitioned into co-ed education.
Is that right?
Yes.
So you, how did you feel being in that one of the last classes?
It was a privilege. The unfortunate thing is the year after it went co-ed, they won the championship.
In football?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes. So that was crushing.
So then you played football?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and your team, your last season was what year?
It was 1990.
Is that right? Now, but I understand you had a pretty good team.
We had a very good team. All 4 years we had a very good team, and we were in the top 3 contenders, for the championship.
Okay. Look, let's talk about that. What, from your perspective, makes a football team in high school a contender or champion?
First, it's obviously the talent that you can attract, and then it's just top-down management. You start with good coaches, good administrators, good trainers, and that transitions into good teams.
Okay. Now, tell me about one of your most memorable games during your time.
It's funny you asked that. We actually, one of my most memorable games, we went to Archbishop Carroll, who we are playing today for homecoming, and we were, I think they were undefeated for almost a season and a half at that time, and it was their homecoming, so the crowd was charged up, and we ended up winning in the last minute of the game on a linebacker stunt. We we scored a safety and won that game 8-6. Yeah, so that was something to go in and beat them for their homecoming at that time in the program.
As you talk about that good coaching, I have a gentleman here who basically kind of broke into the coaching ranks a little bit my senior year here. Mike, let's talk a little bit about that coaching. Tell me what are we looking for in terms of our coaching to help train these young men and women to be the best athletes that they can be, because you're involved in more than just football.
I've been involved with a number of sports, but at McNamara, and I've also worked a little bit with the University of Maryland program, but I'm back here as a lacrosse coach. I think as coaches, you got to be willing to always learn. There's always new things out there that there's always new schemes or new philosophies, and you really have to be up to date on a lot of different things. You also have to be dedicated to the youth. I've seen so many times that, like, some of the public high schools, both in the county and in the DC area, where they feel that football coaches, or just sports coaches in general, they feel that their season runs from the first day of practice to the last game, and then that's it. I don't turn it over again until I go back to it. Well, with these kids, it can't be that way. It's got to be a continuous process. You know, we look for our kids to, you know, the 10-year, 5-year, 1-year, 6-month plan. At least I do with my lacrosse girls. And what we're saying is, where do you want to be 10 years from now? Where do you want to be 5 years from now? And how are you going to get there? And it's all about academics. And we've told, Bubba's been with me before with some of our alumni football stuff, where I tell them adamantly, what goes on in the actual school building is more important, because they'll carry you through life, than anything you do on the field. If you look at the current NFL crop, last year there were approximately 365 kids out of about 50,000 kids at the Division 1-2 level that were up for NFL draft. Out of that 356, you may get another 100 to 200 free agents. But out of that, you're only really looking about 70 guys that will actually be in the NFL from last year's draft.
Now, what does homecoming really mean to you all? Obviously, there's a lot of history here, and you guys are involved, obviously coaches involved in many sports, and Tim, you're coming back from homecoming. What does that really mean to you?
To me, it's a chance to reconnect with people that I consider my brothers. It's a sense of family, it's a sense of community, it's an overwhelming sense of pride to walk these halls and know that we were part of this.
Yeah. What about you, Coach?
Well, I look at it, we're getting ready for my 40-year reunion next year with not only my class, but also 40 years since we won the city championship title in 1973. And we're starting to connect now with a lot of players that played college that, you know, are now going to come back to the area. A lot of them haven't seen the school since the day they graduated.
And on that note, when we return, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the changes that take place at a high school over the years. And Tim Corrab comes back, or Mike Smith comes back, or GRIMES comes back, and we see all the changes. You know, what does that do for our heart and soul? When we return to the Roland GRIMES, Not Just Sports and Entertainment Show, we'll be back shortly. Welcome back to the Roland GRIMES, Not Just Sports and Entertainment Show. Hey Tim, quick question for you. When was the last time you were at Bishop McNamara? And tell me a little bit about some of the changes that you've seen since you've been here.
I was here for the St. John's game a few weeks ago, actually. And just every time I've been back prior to that, it's it's overwhelming, the changes in not just the physical structure of the building, the additions to the Fine Arts Center. It fills me up with pride to see the progress. It's not just the same thing with new programs. They're making advancements at every stage. It's a sense of pride.
Now, when you talk about the changes in regards to what you're playing now, what are some of the biggest changes that the two of you see? It could be athletic related, education related.
Bingo.
You know, what is it? I think our viewers would love to hear you talk about that.
I think that one of the biggest things around here, number one, as Mr. Grimes alluded to, is women. You walk down the hall and you see girls. Now, I will tell you that when I was a freshman here, we had a physics class where we had about a half dozen girls from Lorraine that would come over and take physics at McNamara because it wasn't offered at the time at Lorraine. The other thing that I think you'll see is we have kids here, teachers here, parents here that understand the big picture. They understand that this is not a white world or a black world or an Asian world or an American world. It's a multicultural. Absolutely, absolutely.
Now that's a good point. Let me jump in on that real quick. Now, Tim, we've all seen the movie Remember the Titans. And you came through here in 1990, several years after I left. What was the culture like when you were here in terms of relationships among students?
The culture was cohesive. Regardless of the color of your skin, it was cohesive. Yeah. Everybody got along, and I think that alludes to the top-down principle. You know, it was. I can't think of a more perfect word than cohesive.
Now, we were all there in 3 different decades. What was it like for you?
I've been there all 4 decades, so I haven't moved.
This is true. This is true. But when you were a student?
When I was a student, racially, I would say that we were probably more Caucasian than African American, but we worked well with everybody. Yeah. I mean, even back then, I grew up in St. Thomas More down in Southeast, so a great running back that used to be at Carroll and graduated like in '73 was Marco Moore. Great running back up there, and he was one of my classmates at St. Thomas More way back then. So we've always had great understandings. Sometimes how you act as an individual is how you're brought up. You know, the more you're around different types of people and you understand their ethnicity and their heritage, the more you really become acceptable to them. I remember in '73, I was telling some of the soccer players today, we had a kid that the Brothers of the Holy Cross actually brought here from, I want to say it was like Nairobi or Nigeria, one of the African nations, and GBD, and just a great kid, great fellow. You know, they don't get hung up on the color of a person's skin. It's more the character that an individual is, and how they've grown, and what you've brought to the table.
Yeah, we have a lot of parents that are going to be watching the show, and this is a question for both of you all. What would you say to the parents and some of the kids that are getting ready to get into this athletic world, where they're going to become a student athlete, and they're looking for some advice from both of you guys? You guys play football, you have a coach. What would you say? What would be some of the fine points?
I want to go first?
Yeah, I would say one of the things that it taught me most of all was how to balance your life, your academic life, your sports life. You got to find a fine balance of that. It can't be all sports and little academics. It can't be all academics and little sports. It's a valuable lesson that you learn.
Okay. What about you, Coach?
Here's the other side, and you bring up a very interesting point, and one that I have a real pet peeve of. When Bubba was here, he played multiple sports. Did you play multiple sports too?
I played baseball for 2 years.
Oh, that's right.
Primarily football.
Well, I did football here, and I also ran track. since I've been back, and wrestling. Since I've been back, hell, I've coached football, wrestling, basketball, track, and now lacrosse. Now, the biggest problem that we have today, and you played college basketball, is we have too many parents that, one, are trying to live their dream for their kids. Two, they have too many parents that think that this is going to be a free ticket to the next level, be it college or even beyond that. Again, if you don't get it in the classroom, you're basically done for life. Because the academics you can always build upon. You know, if you're not learning something new every day, you're done.
Look, when we come back, we're going to take a station break real quick. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more, about what you guys have been doing since you left McNamara as students. Obviously, you've been involved with coaching, but you have another professional life.
Got to make money somewhere.
Talk about that as well. So, hey, folks, we're going to take another station break. We'll be back homecoming at Bishop McNamara High School. Roland Grimes, Not Just Sports Entertainment Show, right back at you.
Hello, my name is Dr. Arthur McClinu. I've dedicated my life to providing surgical care to patients with heart disease. My life began in the slums of Soweto in South Africa, where I learned to overcome adversity and illnesses, including the death of my best friend. That's why I want to be a resource for you and your family for consultation related to heart and cardiovascular needs. You can learn more about me by visiting my website, which is at zuluchescutter.com.
Welcome back to the Roland Grimes, Not Just Sports Entertainment Show with my cohort, Mr. Self-Empowerment, Wilbur Skipper. It's homecoming season all over the nation. We're at Bishop McNamara High School here in Forestville, Maryland. Talking to Tim Corrad, Coach Mike Smith. Tim, let me ask you a little bit about your experiences as a student athlete at Bishop McNamara, and in what ways did those experiences prepare you for what you are doing now?
Like I said earlier, to address one of your previous questions, it just teaches you balance, how to juggle a schedule. I think I had a leg up going in to college as opposed to other freshmen that didn't have an opportunity to play sports in high school, and understanding that balance. When you go off to college, I went off to West Virginia University after I left.
You're a Mountaineer?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I know, Mike.
We have
you can hold me back. I'm going to orient them.
And to see some of my freshman classmates there that didn't have that background of learning that balance. You don't have parents waking you up in the morning and telling you need to get to class. The alarm goes off at 8 o'clock. But having that balance and that structure instilled in you as a student athlete in high school is just extremely beneficial when you go off to the next level of education.
Now, what career are you in right now?
I do environmental emergency services.
For municipal or as a
private contract. My degree at West Virginia was in psychology. We talked back to the experiences at McNamara. I had a teacher here that really sparked my interest in psychology. And I went on to get my psychology degree at West Virginia and ended up working for Fairfax County Juvenile Justice System for about 7 years after I graduated from college.
Mike, what line of work are you in now?
I'm a contracting officer for the Office of Naval Research. I've stayed within the civil service for an entire career. Next April, I walk away from Uncle Sam, so I'm also
a civilian.
I'll be a civilian. I am a civilian. I'm also level 2 certified in lacrosse. I'm a NSCA conditioning specialist. So I have that going for me in a variety of other things.
And some of your experiences at Bishop McNamara, how in what ways it prepared you for what you've done since then and what you're doing now?
I think the biggest thing one of the things that I learned was you become dedicated to a goal. And the driving force is really to push to that goal. I think back to my sophomore year, and it's sort of a strange story. I was probably the first kid ever that Knightsey asked to play JV as a junior.
The football coach.
Head football coach at the time. And I was so irritated. I quit and I came back. I quit and I came back. I quit and I came back. And finally one of the assistant coaches on JV came up, basically put his foot up my gluteus maximus and said, if you truly wanted to quit, you would have gotten out on the street and gone home. You know, go in, get your damn helmet, get your shoulder pads, and get your rear end out on the field.
And it's almost like we can't do that nowadays.
No, God knows. If you touch or look at a kid the wrong way, they go home and cry to their mamas or their dads. Go, Coach yelled at me today. Well, I tell you what, before Timmy was here, I had a kid by the name of Chris Baxel, who's currently working he's a lieutenant with Metropolitan Police Department. And I was reaming this kid out on the field one day, and his dad, who happened to be a captain for the PG County Police Department, as we were walking off the field, came over to this kid and basically jumped down his throat. And I told the father, I said, look, I told the kid, go into the locker room. I said, you have to understand something. I don't walk into your house and tell you how to discipline your kid. Please, don't ever, ever come on my field again and try to discipline your kid for something that I've done as a coach. I know as a coach, I see your kid every day. I know what and how to tweak your kid.
Yeah.
And I said, honestly, your kid's the type that has to have a 2x4 upside his head to get his attention. Well, the kid the next day came back to me and said, you know something? I don't know what you said to my dad. I don't know how you said it, but we talked for 2 hours last night for the first time ever. And to this day, I've seen the kid several times, and he says, you know, my dad, and I just want to thank you.
Hey, look, we're going to wrap up in a little bit. Skip the other question.
Yeah, what I wanted to address very quickly is, when I look back on my basketball career, going all the way back to high school, even junior high school.
How long ago was that?
I came out of high school, wow, can't even remember the years, wow. Came out of college in '82.
Oh, hell, you're still young.
78, class of
78 high school.
So you're still young.
75 in junior high school. But when I look back at my basketball career, there are a couple things that I would have done different. So I want to pose this question to you all as well.
Great question.
A couple things I would have done different. Number one, I would have been more of a student as opposed to more of a basketball player. Now, obviously, I was a student athlete and I went to class, but I would have taken books a little bit more serious. That's number one. And then number two, I wouldn't have been too concerned about the fanfare. I mean, people building me up, telling me I was better than probably I was, which helped me in one sense, sure, but it hurt me in another sense. What would you guys say in going back to your career, that if you had to do something differently, you would have made that change?
I don't think I would have done anything differently. I think where I am today is a product of the mistakes I made or the lapses in judgment. I'm happy with my life the way it is now. I don't think I would have done anything.
Okay, Coach?
I will tell you that, and any kid that plays in the WCAC, I firmly believe can play college football at some level. That's not to say that, you know, an individual that is 5'8", plays a left guard or a right guard, is going to be able to play at a William & Mary, University of Maryland, or those type of schools. But he might be able to play at a Division II, Division III, like a softball.
As long as they get the exposure.
As long as they get the exposure out there, they can fit somewhere. There's a fit for everybody. So.
Hey, folks. Once again, homecoming all over the land. Bishop McNamara High School, Forestville, Maryland, my alma mater. Tim Corrad, Coach Mike Smith, and of course, my resident co-host, Mr. Wilbur Skipper. Hey folks, I didn't get a chance to tell you, but one of the things that I learned when I was here to help me move forward in life was to spend time trying to do one thing. and that was to amaze people. And whether they like you or whether they don't like you, I always recognize that I had the opportunity to do something amazing, and I'm hoping and praying that God will continue to allow me to do that. It sort of makes you an outlier. In some ways it makes you popular, in some ways it makes you unpopular. But at Bishop McNamara High School, I learned how to focus on greatness. And the next gentleman we have coming on board was one of the people that helped teach me that my freshman year here at Bishop McNamara. But as we say goodbye, I want to thank Tim Smith. I want to thank Mike Smith and his cousin Tim Coleman for joining us today. Hey guys, I appreciate you. And Tim, God bless you. One thing they didn't teach us at McNamara is how to do his handshake. But look here, folks, on behalf of everyone, everywhere, Roland GRIMES, Not Just Sports and Entertainment Show. Look forward to part 2, homecoming, Bishop McNamara High School. God bless, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.